Welcome to Reviews That Scare with Jess and Blair. I'm Jess.
I'm Blair.
Blair, how are you?
I'm doing good, man. Yourself?
I am doing very, very well. Thank you very much. We are on to our second episode of the month of March, aka International Women's Month, aka Let's Hear It for the Ladies Month.
Whoop, whoop.
And we have a fun one to talk about today. But before we do that, what do you say we chat a little bit about some horror news?
This is horror news.
Blairski, what do you have for horror news this week?
The first images on the Crow remake have been released, showcasing a very unrecognizable Bill Skarsgård. However, his look is already receiving heavy backlash from the horror community, mostly regarding the tattoos they're giving him. But I have said this before, I'm going to say it again. You're already setting yourself up for disappointment if you start judging a remake to the original film before it's even out. Yeah, you have to at least give people a chance to see the movie.
Yeah. And honestly, it's obviously it's a cult classic. This was my other piece of horror news. It's a cult classic, 1994, of course, starring Brandon Lee, R.I.P.
Yeah.
So immediately, even before we watch it, even before we see it, people already hate it.
Yeah.
You know,
100%. Yeah.
give it a second. Give it a second, and don't compare it with the original. The original obviously will hold a special place in people's hearts, but let's say
untouchable.
And at the end of the day, it's Bill Skarsgård. Bill Skarsgård is great.
He's great. Yeah, he's great.
Yeah. So let's see what he can do with the role. Yeah.
I'm at least going to watch it. I'm going to give it a chance to at least watch it, right? So
absolutely. I didn't realize it was coming out right away.
No, I didn't either. You said June 7th?
June 7th, 2024 in theaters. This one also starring FKA Twigs.
Okay, right on.
Should be good. Should be interesting. We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see how it plays out.
Yeah.
My final piece of horror news isn't really news, and I don't have much info on this. Maxine was supposed to be the final film in Ty West's Pearl trilogy.
Right.
It's not even out yet, and Ty West is teasing a fourth film in the franchise, saying he has come up with a very weird but interesting idea for a fourth film, but also wants to wait and see how Maxine resonates with the fan base before kind of moving ahead with any plans for it or anything like that.
Oh, please, God, please release Pearl in space. Please do it. Maxine in space.
Maxine in the hood.
Please, for the love of God.
Can you imagine?
Maxine versus Pearl. Oh, gosh. Yeah. It's kind of the same thing that happened with the first one. I mean, while the first one was shooting, he was writing a sequel, and they just extended the shoot dates of the first one to film the second one.
Yeah, and then it was shortly after that where they announced the third one also.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting.
Yeah.
Great. You took both of my pieces of horror news. I had first images of The Crow, and I had one that we did last episode, which was the new Paranormal Activity game brought to you by Brian Clark, who did The Mortuary Assistant.
Looking forward to that.
A game we're both pretty excited for. We love Paranormal Activity. Bring it on.
Yeah, I love horror games too.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, let's get into this week's episode. Like we had said, the second episode in Let's Hear It for the Ladies Month goes to the 1992 classic, Buffy the Vampire Slayer. Blairski runtime on this one, 1 hour, 26 minutes. What's your initial thoughts on the runtime?
An hour and 26 minutes is great, man, for any movie. It's a good number.
Okay, good thoughts. Let's jump right into fun facts on this one. Do you have any fun facts on Buffy the Vampire Slayer?
I do, actually. So in the fall of 91, the script for this movie was sold to Dolly Parton's production company, Sandollar. So I had no idea Dolly Parton was behind this movie at all. She's apparently uncredited producer for the show as well.
What?
Yeah.
So she's working 9 to 5 as a musician. A little Dolly Parton pun there.
Yeah.
Plus, she's an uncredited producer on Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
100%.
Dolly Parton is a national treasure, and we must protect her at all costs.
At all costs. At all costs.
Love Dolly Parton.
Production on this film was limited to just 5 weeks to accommodate Luke Perry's Beverly Hills 90210 filming schedule. He was a big star at this time.
That movie or that television show ran for 10 years.
I know, that's wild. I've
It's a
never
long
even
time.
seen it. Have you seen
Yeah.
any episodes of that?
I haven't. No.
This movie took a different direction from what one of the writers, Joss Whedon, had intended. You actually told me he walked out of the set. I'll let you tell that story, but
Yeah.
what I have written here, 5 years after the release of the movie, he created the much darker and acclaimed TV series that I certainly grew up watching.
Yeah, absolutely. Joss Whedon is a pretty big name in Hollywood. He left the production and never returned after becoming so frustrated with how they were mishandling his vision of the film. Apparently, he did not get along with Donald Sutherland at all. Donald Sutherland liked to improvise his lines quite a bit, which as a writer can be very frustrating.
I get it.
Yeah.
But yeah, that was his reason for creating the TV series. He just was not happy with the movie.
He wanted another kick at the can.
100%.
Cool.
My last fun fact for this movie is, although not considered a critical success, financially, this movie grossed over $16 million at the box office against a $7 million budget.
Okay, so they did all right.
They did all right. They made double. They made double.
Good for them.
Hey.
Nice. I've got a couple here. David Bowie and Mick Jagger were supposed to have cameo roles as vampires.
That would have been awesome.
Yeah, it was scrapped due to budget. Go figure.
Yeah.
That, a film with a budget of $7 million couldn't afford David Bowie and Mick Jagger, two of the biggest rock stars of all time.
Yeah, right.
Although, I mean, this movie had cameo roles from pretty much everyone else in the world, minus David Bowie and Mick Jagger. Ben Affleck appears uncredited as a basketball player in this movie.
I've got a note on that. It was in my likes and dislikes, but I'll just say it right now. Apparently, he was so bad in that scene, all of his lines were dubbed over.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh, no. Oh, goodness. I got a couple more here. Theatrical debut of Hilary Swank.
Okay, I didn't know that.
Oscar award winner. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And then finally, Alyssa Milano was originally set to star as Buffy. Pretty cool.
Yeah, very cool.
This one directed by Fran Rubel Kuzio. I butchered that. My apologies. Also directed 1988's Tokyo Pop and was executive producer for 145 episodes of the smash hit TV show, one of Blair's favorites, Buffy the Vampire Slayer, and 110 episodes of its spin-off, Angel.
Okay.
This one, as we had already said, written by Joss Whedon, was one of the writers of a mildly successful animated movie called Toy Story.
Mildly successful.
Also wrote the screenplay for Titan AE, the story for Atlantis, The Lost Empire, wrote 145 episodes of the television show Buffy the Vampire Slayer, 14 episodes of the cult classic TV show Firefly, 2011's The Cabin in the Woods, 2015's Avengers Age of Ultron, and 2017's Justice League. A very small resume, if you ask.
I was just about to say that resume is something else, man.
Very, very small. Very, very small indeed. Let's talk about the fine cast that starred in this one. As I had mentioned, a million cameo appearances. I'll save that for later on. But Christy Swanson as Buffy also starred in 1999's Big Daddy, 1996's The Phantom, starring a review set scare all-time favorite, a young Billy Zane.
I love Billy Zane.
Also in 1986's Ferris Bueller's Day Off, and 20 episodes of Early Edition. This one also starring Hollywood royalty Donald Sutherland as Merrick, starred in 1967's The Dirty Dozen, 1970's MASH, National Lampoon's Animal House, 1978's Invasion of the Body Snatchers, and The Hunger Games, just to name a few. This one stars Luke Perry as Pike, R.I.P. Luke Perry.
Mhm.
Also starred in 199 episodes of Beverly Hills 90210, 1997's The Fifth Element, and in 6 episodes of one of my favorite cartoon shows growing up, Pepper Ann.
Yeah, I used to watch Pepper Ann.
He played a character named Stuart Waldinger. I love Pepper Ann.
Yeah, Pepper Ann was great.
And then we have a massive cast, so I'm quickly going to go through a bunch of the cameo appearances. Obviously, we have Pee Wee himself, Paul Rubens, Rutger Hauer, Hilary Swank, David Arquette, Sasha Jensen, Stephen Root, Candy Clark, and also appearances from Ben Affleck, Seth Green, and Ricky Lake.
I didn't notice
Massive.
Seth Green. I didn't notice it.
He's in the end. He plays a vampire right at the prom where Buffy comes out, and there's a giant horde of vampires, and she punches him. She's the first one that she punches,
All right.
and you can recognize him because of his hair.
As you
Kind of
normally
cool
do.
though,
Yeah.
because I've never seen the show, but correct me if I'm wrong. He went on to be a cast member in the television show.
Mhm.
He did, yeah. Okay. Synopsis.
I don't know how big of a role though
Yeah, I don't know.
in the show. I'm pretty sure he's in it, but I don't think it's a big role.
Okay. Synopsis for 1992's Buffy the Vampire Slayer, courtesy of our dear friends at IMDb. Flighty teenage girl Buffy Summers learns that she is her generation's destined battler of vampires. Yep,
Yeah, that's it.
that's it. That one was not AI generated. That
No.
one is basically, that's the
That's
movie.
just a short and sweet synopsis. Yeah.
Well done. Well done. This leads us to kill count.
Kill count. The time of the show we count the kills.
Blairski, we have a kill count for 1992's Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Honestly, man, I had trouble keeping up with this one. I had to source this kill count from the List of Deaths fandom page,
Okay.
which lists a total kill count of 56,
Whoa.
breaking it down as 28 human deaths, 26 vampire deaths, and 2 animals. But I'm not going to lie, I had a terrible time focusing on this movie, and that seems like a really high number to me.
It does, especially in a movie about slaying vampires. The human total exceeds that of the vampires. Now, you had a hard time focusing on this movie, so let's have that as our starting off point for our first segment of the night, likes and dislikes. Likes, dislikes, likes, dislikes, and everything in between. The portion of the show where we chat about what we liked, what we didn't like, and everything in between. Blairski,
Yeah.
why did you have such a hard time focusing on this one?
Although the actual length of the movie is perfect, I was bored most of the movie. I was bored most of the movie. I don't know if maybe I just didn't give it a chance or not from the get-go. That's quite possible because I'm such a fan of the show I am, but
Yeah.
that's where I sit with it.
I wanted to get your initial thoughts on this one, just because obviously the television show holds such a special place in your heart.
Yeah.
Were you were let down?
Not okay. It just wasn't for me. So
Okay.
it's very campy and very fun. And I do get that. Like it is campy and fun. I don't think it aged that well to me.
Fair enough.
And just, again, the TV holds such a special place in my heart. I just found myself so much comparing the two, and I couldn't even help it.
Right. I get that. You obviously have higher expectations.
Yeah.
Because you are such a fan of the show. I've never seen the show. Shame on me. And I definitely should. But I think going into it, I didn't have many expectations at all.
Yeah. Fair.
I, on the other hand, this movie was right up my alley.
Yeah, I know it was.
when it comes to horror movies, the ones I love the most are the ones that are campy and full of humor, whether intentional or unintentional. I would say this one is filled with campiness and humor intentional.
Yeah, no, it is. It is.
It was supposed to be funny. It was supposed to be a little bit tongue in cheek. It felt like a zombie or a vampire movie that was wrapped in a coming of age story.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I actually have even written here in between my list of not likes. I actually did enjoy the dialogue in this movie. I found it really funny, and I really loved all the '90s nostalgia I was getting just from like the lingo and the things they were saying. I did really enjoy that.
100%. And I think it also it leads back to when you had mentioned it maybe hasn't dated very well.
Yeah,
Whereas so much of the dialogue is rooted in the 90s, especially the early 90s,
it's very
with the
nostalgic.
slang and everything like that, which
Yeah.
I thought was excellent.
It is great. It is great, but yeah, it doesn't age well. It doesn't age well, but
To
it was
go
nostalgic.
Absolutely. To go along with the comical dialogue, what about the comically excellent sound effects used during the fight scenes in this movie?
It reminded me of Batman, like the old Batman
Yeah,
TV show.
watching a comic book,
Yeah,
pow, bop.
yeah.
Yeah, I loved it.
And those fight scenes too, they were so badly choreographed.
Yeah, they weren't great.
It was very noticeable.
I want to, just because we jumped right into likes and dislikes, I want to backtrack a little bit,
Okay.
just because for anyone who's listened to the show, we love our intros.
Yes.
And I don't know how you felt about it, but I thought this intro was great. And I just want to say the bit of dialogue that the narrator reads at the beginning of this movie, if that's all right.
Oh, please.
So the narrator comes on and says, "Since the dawn of men, the vampires have walked among us, killing, feeding. The only one with the strength or skill to stop their heinous evil is the Slayer. She who bears the birthmark, the mark of the coven. Trained by the Watcher, one Slayer dies, and the next is chosen." That's a great bit of dialogue.
It is great, and you sounded just like him. You sounded just like him.
If they ever do a remake, I would love to be the narrator at
Yeah,
the beginning who
yeah.
reads that blurb.
You'll get my vote.
The costumes anytime they go back in time,
Yeah.
whether the intro or when Buffy is having her dreams, her nightmares, the costumes are pretty ridiculous.
They are, but I do like how they kind of give the backstory into the Slayer. At the
100%.
beginning, right? You kind of have to do that.
Absolutely. I love that. And kind of seeing that it is a role that is passed down from generation to generation. There's always been a Slayer. I really like that idea.
And it's always a woman. Perfect for
Yeah.
the month. Perfect for the month.
So awesome. And then it's so funny because back in 1992, in that portion of the movie, the costumes are equally ridiculous.
Yeah.
Or at least they are nowadays. I guess
Very
a lot
90s,
of those
even.
clothing is it's coming back now. The 90s are a popular clothing trend at the moment.
Best decade ever.
Why not, right? This movie is very, very silly. I did think that Christy Swanson and Luke Perry were great in this movie.
I actually have Christy Swanson and Paul Rubens were great in this movie.
Yeah, Paul Rubin was something else. Apparently, his character's hair and beard were modeled off of the hair and beard that he had in the photo of his first mugshot that was taken.
That's so funny.
Oh my goodness. He thought that was the coolest he's ever looked in his very first mugshot. Dear Lord. This movie did feel a little bit like a straight to television movie.
Mhm.
But it was a lot of fun in there. This is definitely a movie that in the 90s, I could see myself going to the video store and renting this for like a sleepover night.
I could see it as being something. You remember YTV?
Oh, I loved YTV.
Yeah, it seems to me like it would be one of their nighttime movies or something like that.
Friday night movie
Yeah,
or something
yeah,
like
yeah.
that. Absolutely. There's very little that's scary about this movie. It's obviously a comedy horror movie, and
Yeah.
it finds a nice balance, but it leads more to the comedy side of it. I felt.
That show is a little more serious.
And just a lot darker visually as well. I also want to mention the high school mascot is a thing of nightmares.
Yeah.
It's just a pig boy. It's terrifying.
It's like, what the fuck am I looking at?
Yeah, it's so odd. Yeah, you had mentioned Christy Swanson, Paul Rubens. There are some acting performances in this that do stand out. They were good. I really thought Christy Swanson, Luke Perry, their dynamic together was really, really good. They felt really comfortable together, and it felt genuine, a lot of their relationship stuff. So that was good.
And Ben Affleck. What about Ben Affleck?
Oh, Big Ben.
Basketball player Ben.
Academy Award winner Bruce Wayne, aka Ben Affleck.
So good, he got dubbed over.
That's right. Did you like anything else about this one? Did you not like anything else about this one?
The plot in this movie I found was a little bad and rushed. I just felt the movie was very, very rushed to me.
Okay.
Like just the storyline to me was rushed. I feel like they were missing a lot of kind of holes.
It did. There was definitely scenes that, they feel like they flew by. One in particular was Merrick and Buffy, their kind of introduction in the gym.
The montage.
Yeah, well, even before that, where Buffy isn't overly alarmed by the appearance of this older gentleman that she doesn't recognize in her school,
standing
kind of
there,
creepily watching her.
Yeah.
Especially after she had a brief run-in with him earlier on in the movie. She wasn't scared, she was sarcastic, which is also, that's a great character trait, is sarcasm. And
100%.
the character of Buffy is definitely sarcastic in this movie.
Yeah, she is. Buffy was great.
Yeah, I think we can agree. Or I mean, again, I haven't seen the TV show, but it is definitely not the TV show.
It's totally different. Yeah,
it's maybe a bit dated.
Yeah,
some of the performances were good.
Some were good.
Some were good.
Were not.
Yeah. There is nothing scary about this movie.
No, there is not.
And it would have been a good video store rental on a Friday night, or a YTV tune-in Friday night movie.
100%. It is fun. It is fun.
Yeah, I think that's the perfect word for this movie. Fun. Yeah. Let's move right along. Let's jump right into one of our next segments, one of our favorite segments, I might say, which is lessons we learned from watching 1992's Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Lessons we learned from watching. Insert title of movie here.
The portion of the show where we discuss the valuable life lessons we learned from watching said movie. Blairski, I know you were a little distracted, but did you learn a single gosh darn thing from 1992's Buffy?
The only thing I learned is something I've already talked about, and that is I learned that even though this movie has amassed actually a pretty big cult following, for me, this is definitely not my Buffy. My Buffy goes by the name Sarah Michelle Gellar and ran on Canada's YTV network for 7 seasons. One single episode of that show to me is better than this movie.
Than the whole movie. Okay. And fair enough. It obviously, again, it holds a special place in your heart, in your family's heart.
Yeah.
That was a big thing for your family.
God, we watched it every week, man.
You gather around the TV and your jammies. You get a nice tall glass of hot cocoa, and you watch Buffy the Vampire Slayer.
Right? Which is great.
I love it. I love it so much. I learned a couple of things here. One vampire is a lot easier to kill than 10.
Yeah.
Fair enough. It's just straightforward math. Yeah. And then finally, not something we learned from this movie, but a good reminder: vampires can't come into a home unless invited.
Mm-hmm.
This one, I believe we learned from, in my opinion, a much better vampire movie, The Lost Boys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a great movie.
Yeah. This leads to our next segment of the night, Line of the Night.
Line of the night. Line of the night. Line of the night. Line of the night. Line of the night. Line of the night. Line of the night. Line of the night. Line of the night.
The segment of the show where we discuss our favorite lines from the movie. They might give us chills, they might give us the giggles. All we know is that they are our favorites. Blairski. Lines of the night? Have any?
I got him.
Okay, what do you
First
got?
off, this movie is actually chock full of great early 90s lingo. I
Yep.
absolutely loved it. I actually have 3 lines of the night. They were all said by Buffy.
Okay.
First one is, all I want to do is graduate from high school, go to Europe, marry Christian Slater, and die.
Yeah. Great line.
Loved it. Next one is, Pike isn't a name, it's a fish.
That's great.
Said by Buffy.
Yeah.
The last line I have is, 3 weeks ago, all I thought about was, well, I didn't actually think of anything. And that really resonated with me.
Yeah. No doubt. That's great. Like you were saying, this one is chock full of great lines. I have 5. And they're completely different than the 3 that you said.
Okay.
So my first one, after talking about a recent history exam, Buffy says, "Excuse me for not knowing about El Salvador.
Yeah.
Like I'm ever going to Spain anyways."
Yeah. I almost wrote that one down too. That's a
Yeah.
good one.
And then another one, Buffy says this to Merrick when Merrick stops the elevator. She says, "Excuse much? Rude or anything?" Love
Yeah,
that.
very
Excuse
90s.
much.
Yeah.
This one, I couldn't remember who said this, but I am going to start saying this in my everyday lingo. The line, "God, take a chill lozenge."
Wasn't that David Arquette?
It might have been, or it
Could
might have been one of Buffy's friends. I can't remember, but yeah, "God, take a chill lozenge." Buffy has another great line when she says, "Does the word duh mean anything to you?" I love that. And then finally, Paul Rubens' character says, "You ruined my new jacket. Kill him a lot."
Yeah, that was great.
I love that. That seems like a very improvised line,
It
but I
does,
love
yeah.
it. Yeah, kill him a lot. And that's great. This leads us to our
So cheesy.
favorite segment of the show. Some might call it our favorite segment. I
I'd
think
call
we
it-
would put
call
it
it
near
mine.
the top of the list for sure.
It's probably my favorite.
Celebrity lookalike time.
Celebrity lookalike time.
The time of the show where we take a look at the cast and discuss their celebrity doppelgangers. Whoa. Spoiler. It usually comes down to the character's hairstyle. Blairski.
Yes, sir.
What do you have for celebrity lookalike time?
Buffy reminded me of a young Christina Applegate.
Okay. Yeah.
A little in the face, but definitely the platinum blonde hair.
Yeah.
Finally, the character Amelin. Other than the fact the entire movie I was yelling at my TV that guy looks like Pee Wee Herman, and found out he was after the fact.
Yep. Yeah. I said the same thing.
But the character also reminded me of David Spade.
Okay.
The long hair, the goatee, and the stature, just a smaller dude. It definitely did.
Oh goodness. Yeah. He looks just like Joe Dirt.
A little bit.
Oh
a little
God.
bit.
Anything else for celebrity lookalike time?
I just got the 2, man. I just got the 2.
I got a couple here. The character Lothos reminded me of Anthony Hopkins and William Daniels, aka Mr. Feeney from one of my all-time favorites, Boy Meets World.
All right. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And then finally, I believe it came down to the platinum blonde hair as well. But the character Buffy reminded me of punk rock icon Debbie Harry,
Mhm.
lead singer of the band Blondie.
Yeah. I
All
can totally
hail
see that.
Debbie Harry. All
She's
hail.
great. She's great.
Fantastic. Yeah. That's what I have for celebrity lookalike time. This was kind of a fun one. It was
fun.
It was a funnier one. And I'm glad we did it.
I am glad we watched it. Yeah, I had never seen it before, and I'm a huge fan of the show, so why not watch the original movie, right?
Yeah, I was surprised when you said you had never seen the movie just because you are such a fan of the show. And now you can tell people that you have seen it.
There you go.
This has been a great month so far. I'm excited to keep moving along. Our next episode is going to be our watch party, which I'm very excited about.
Hell yeah, I am too, man. I love the
But
watch parties.
yeah, me too. But until then,
Wait.
this is-
We haven't even
oh,
we haven't even gave it a rating yet, Jesse.
oh my goodness! Look at me go,
Well,
jumping the gun.
we gotta give it the rating here.
Let's not talk about the rating. Let's just talk about the watch show, the watch party.
I am
and
excited
get
for
outta
the
here.
watch party. The watch party is gonna be so fun, man.
All right, Blair, we'll just cut that in post.
No, we're playing it. We're
Oh
running
goodness,
it. We're
that's fine.
running it.
That's fine. Okay, Blair,
Yes.
your final rating for 1992's Buffy the Vampire Slayer. What are you giving it out of 5 lengthy vampire hunting training montages out of 5?
I'm gonna give it 2 lengthy vampire hunting training montages out of 5. Not a horrible movie. It is fun. It's just not my cup of tea.
Just didn't live up to your expectations.
You know what though? I might enjoy it more if I give it a rewatch. We'll see. I'll give it a few months.
Cool. I'm going to shoot a little bit higher. Like I was saying, this is just my cup of tea. This is where my love of horror really comes in. The campiness, the humor, the over-the-topness. I'm giving it 3 lengthy vampire hunting training montages out of 5. Like we had said earlier, this movie is fun and
Yeah,
goofy.
It's fun.
It's goofy. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
Definitely seen worse.
Yeah. Okay, can I do our outro now?
Yeah, you could do that now.
Okay, tune into our watch party on the 16th of March.
Yeah.
We'll post the times later.
Do
But
you want to say
until
what
then,
movie we're gonna watch? Or
yeah, I
just
believe
leave it?
we've already mentioned it will be the Babadook.
Hell yeah, it is. Hell yeah, it is.
Babadook, Duke. Very excited for that one. But until then, this has been Reviews That Scare with Jess and Blair. I'm Jess.
I'm Blair. Remember to stay scary.
And eat every sandwich.
The voice crack.
Bye.
Goodbye.
Thank you for listening to Reviews That Scare. Make sure you check out our Linktree at linktree/Reviews That Scare. That's linktr.ee/Reviews That Scare, which has links to our Instagram, YouTube, Patreon, Twitch, and many other things. If you'd like to email us, you can reach us at reviewsthatscare@gmail.com. Thanks for listening, and remember to stay scary and eat every sandwich. A proud member of Pod Nation TV.